Mr. Rishad Premji started this controversy last week when he said that moonlighting is cheating. That's simple. What's your take? Do you think that it's cheating, or is it fair to let people work outside their office time?
Well, I would start by saying, let us look at the employment contract. Now, when you join a firm, you have an employment contract. It's a contract of employment. You offer to give your services in return for compensation. Then you subject yourself to the firm's discipline. Now, does the employment contract say that beyond the time that you're committed for the firm, you can't do any work anywhere for anybody? Now, that is the first limitation that we must look at, because an employment contract, apart from all the emotion, surrounding an employment, is essentially a contract, right? And we must see that. And if you look around the world, and in India too, you find that doctors who work in government hospitals get a non-practicing allowance not to practice outside, right? And many people in the Western markets do 2 or 3 jobs, right? They moonlight, they do 2 or 3 jobs because they find the compensation inadequate, etc. Now, with the rise of the gig economy, the global shortage of technology, people working from home, this has become a very big issue now, and we have to look at it in merit. Now, when we examine this question, one is the legal thing that you must do. Second, the question of fairness. Third, the ethics of it. And the fourth thing is, how do you work out a solution which is fair to both sides and which does not restrict the freedom of the individual, and at the same time make sure that you're not unnecessarily constrained or adequately compensated. So the complex issue has become live because people are working from home. And if you work from home, you save between 1 to 4 hours of commute time.
Absolutely, yeah.
And you have the time on your hand, and you got you're staying at home, you may have a 14-hour workday, right? So this has become very live. And when people are not willing to come back from work from home and come to an office where they have to spend 1 to 4 hours in commute and 9 hours, 10 hours in the office work, they have no time for anything else, this becomes a very hot topic.
Right. Okay. So let me first, ask you on behalf of the employees. I've seen lots of messages, people talking about it. And as you rightly pointed out, it's an issue which needs to be treated fairly, both from the employer's point of view and the employee's point of view. Swiggy is allowing it. I think Swiggy has recognized the fact that, those who do work during the day for Swiggy may be working for Zomato in the evening. They just change their T-shirts, they move on. Cab drivers do it, lawyers do it. Now, doctors, as you mentioned, government doctors, they are paid some allowance for not working elsewhere. Now, is it possible in IT industry to let people work? That's my first question. It must be happening. It's a question of, accepting the reality and saying that, look, this is happening. I can't prevent it. So let me work out a model where we can allow them to work.
Well, I would say that, look, you must differentiate between non-permanent full-time employees and, people who offer the services off and on. That similarly, that the comparison with the delivery boys and all that is not the right comparison, because, they work on delivery. They're not permanent employees. They don't get social security. They don't have an employment contract. They're independent contractors, right? So I think we got to be careful when we compare. So let's suppose that you have full-time employees. Okay. Should you allow them to work outside office hours? Theoretically, they should have full freedom to do what they want outside the hours they committed to you for which they are paid, without compromising on the client's secrecy or anything else that is part of the discipline of being an employee. Because when you work for a company, you get paid for 8 hours and 9 hours.
Right.
That the time of work is defined, and that belongs to the company because they pay you. Do they pay you for working extra hours? If you do overtime, they may pay you. Some companies don't pay, they incentivize you. You do it out of your own goodwill, right? Then above that, do they pay you or put restrictions? Now, they can legitimately put restrictions to say that, you can't use your knowledge for competitors, for this, that, a few things which are reasonable. But beyond that, I don't think they can go. So I think they have to now grow up and accept that people have the right to do what they want with their free time, and put in a policy where they make clauses to make sure that employees work for the hours they committed. And beyond that, it's fine. And two, they don't use any confidential information, which is already there. And in fact, remember that Infosys case where people are trying to allege that the restriction on my freedom, which is not a restriction, the reasonable restriction. You can have a reasonable restriction. The courts and the law allows that. Put in a reasonable restriction because it's contract, and you have a right not to sign the contract when you come into employment. But beyond that, there should be no restriction. I think we should grow up and allow them. But I will add a few caveats. Certain senior people should give the full time and commitment to the firm. Because for many senior people above the managerial level, they have to give the full time 24/7. They are on call, the critical people. For them, there should be no moonlighting because it has other repercussions because they are managers, right? And they're the managerial cadre. For others who are developers and who are software people, who are regular employees, I think they should have flexibility.